Welcome to Sports Guy Talking. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am joined by guest George Rennie, aka a Browns fan. All right, so he's going to be joining us today to talk about the topic of Deshaun Watson. From what is being reported right now, it looks like Deshaun Watson will be suiting up for the entire 2022 NFL season. The trials will not be taking place during the 2022 NFL season. It has been moved to April of 2023. Before I say anything else, though, I want to present you guys with the topic question. So, here it is. What will be Deshaun Watson's impact on the Browns for the 2022 NFL season?
Man, that question, that's one that I'm excited about because, in my opinion, I think the sky's the limit in Cleveland right now. I mean, you brought in Deshaun Watson, and then of course you know about the potential suspension that he was facing, 6-7 game suspension as the NFL was reporting, likely one similar to Tom Brady's, the one that Tom Brady got a couple years back. So we brought in a quarterback room that consists of Jacoby Brissett, Joshua Dobbs, two really good backup quarterbacks. We also still technically have Baker Mayfield on the roster right now. He hasn't been traded, he hasn't been released, so he's still on the roster if we ever needed him in very, very, very rare case that we would. But man, with what Deshaun Watson has done in Houston, or what he had done in the 2019-2020 season in Houston, and he just showed that he was an absolute stud. 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions is an absolute phenomenal outing. Pro Bowler, took his team to the playoffs with basically no offense. And I really do think the sky's the limit in Cleveland right now.
All right, well, before I go ahead and give my take on Deshaun Watson, I got to correct on some of your takes, bro. Yeah, Deshaun Watson, he had 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He didn't take his team to the playoffs that year. Yes, he has been a playoff quarterback before. He's made it twice, but he didn't make it that year where he put up amazing numbers. So, and I understand that was a horrible Houston Texans team. I mean, what do you want Deshaun Watson to do? But I just had to get that fact out of the way. But now that we get that fact,
what I meant to say was, in the 2 years he has played, he had put up those numbers and he has brought his team to the playoffs. Not in the same season.
Right. I just wanted to make that clear for some of the viewers out there, especially for those that are Deshaun Watson fanboys. All right. Well, Deshaun Watson's impact, I mean, I'm not really sure how to answer this question. I think that he's going to put up great numbers. I think he's going to show that he's still one of the top quarterbacks in the game. He's certainly an upgrade over Baker Mayfield. But as far as team success goes, I don't think he's going to have a lot of team success in Cleveland, not necessarily in year one. I don't think he's going to have a lot of it. You know why I say that? Because I'm looking at the division that they play in. Now, look, they play in the division where the Baltimore Ravens exist, the Cincinnati Bengals. These aren't your brother's Bengals no more. These are the modern-day Cincinnati Bengals, the team that everybody loves. And then there's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay, they're entering rebuilding stage, but they still have a strong culture in place. But when you look at this Cleveland Browns team, do they have a lot of talent? Yes, they got two amazing running backs, Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb. All right, so and they got an amazing offensive line. They got guys that can catch the football defensively. They're pretty good in there as well. I know their secondary is a little shaky, but overall, it's solid. It's not bad at all. But you just look at the division. I just think that the AFC North, they're going to be in a super tough division because you're looking at the Baltimore Ravens. They're getting J.K. Dobbins back. They're getting Gus Edwards back. Their rushing attack is going to be really strong. Their tight end room is going to be really good as well. Their offensive line is stacked as well. Then, of course, they got former MVP quarterback Lamar Jackson. I personally would rather take him than Deshaun Watson. I know a lot of people might disagree with that take, but I would actually rather have him than Deshaun Watson. The only weakness you can say about the Baltimore Ravens is that they need wide receivers. And yeah, they need to get wide receivers. So there's really no point debating about that. But I think that the Baltimore Ravens, they're a better team than the Cleveland Browns. They're also better in the front office and on the coaching staff as well. Even though the Browns do have a pretty good head coach in Stefanski, I like him. Then you look at the Cincinnati Bengals. They made a lot of improvements on the offensive line. And I cannot count out the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase factor. When Joe Burrow has Jamar Chase, man, he is a different quarterback. And right now, Joe Burrow is one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. If I had to take a quarterbacks list, and if you wanted to tell me that Joe Burrow belonged in the top 5 for a guy his age with how many years he's been in the NFL, I'll be like, yeah, he's a top 5 quarterback. I mean, I personally don't have him in my top 5, but that's only because there's insane talent at the quarterback position right now around the NFL. I think we were just having that discussion just a couple of weeks ago with you and I. what we were just talking about. And then you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, look, obviously the Cleveland Browns, they got the better quarterback, but Pittsburgh, man, they already got a running game. They already got a nice tight end that they can use, and they got an elite defense, and they have an elite coaching staff. When you look at this Cleveland Browns team, are they a good football team? Yes. However, the Cleveland Browns are closer to being in last place in their division than actually being in contention for first place in their division. And with the AFC alone, man, it's just stacked. And I don't see how Deshaun Watson could impact this team in terms of team success, in terms of getting his team to the playoffs right away. And they will need results right away because they gave up 3 first-round picks. If a team gives up 3 first-round picks, they're looking for immediate results. They're not looking to just, okay, let's be competitive year one, and then let's just build this thing. No, it's be competitive from the start and make the playoffs right away.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you on that. If AFC North is not the most competitive division in the league, it's either the AFC West or the AFC North. I mean, those are pretty much the top 2 right now. And I have to look at this. The Browns lost 9 games last season. One, and if you look at, for example, the Browns game against the Packers on Christmas Day last season, Baker Mayfield practically lost us that game. We had done everything right. He threw 4 interceptions, and I do not think, given the same situation, I do not think Deshaun Watson makes those mistakes. Deshaun Watson, of course, every quarterback makes those mistakes, but Deshaun Watson, he sees the field better than almost any quarterback in the league. And what he's shown that he can do, he shows he can be an elite quarterback. And I think the one area where the Browns have been missing the last couple of seasons has been quarterback. And with an elite run game, a top 5 O-line. Now, I will say this, though, we have Amari Cooper at wide receiver, and after that, it kind of dips off a little bit. Kind of same situation the Ravens are in right now. We have an okay wide receiver group, but we can need, because with Ravens, they lost Hollywood Browns, so really don't have a true no one. So the Browns at least have Amari Cooper, and we can Donovan Peoples-Jones. After that, drop off is kind of big. Now, I will say that the Cincinnati Bengals, they did an amazing job on the offseason, bringing in La'el Collins from Dallas, revamping that offensive line. They've done an amazing job. However, to say that they're close in the division in first place, I think is a bit of a stretch, being that I think that overall, especially on offense and defensive standpoint, the Browns are right up there with Cincinnati at the top of the division, and I think they are over the Ravens, just being that the Ravens don't have any other than Mark Andrews. They have no one for Lamar Jackson's throw to. So you're going to see a lot of read options, a lot of quarterback options to Mark Andrews.
Yeah, but what wins you games in the NFL? Strong stability in the organization. Now, I'll give credit to the Cleveland Browns. They've gotten better at that department, but they're still behind the 8 ball in this division. They're not a stronger organization than the Ravens. They're not a stronger organization than the Pittsburgh Steelers. And okay, maybe they're better than the Bengals, but even the Bengals, even they've gotten good now in the front office and at the coaching staff now too. I mean, although to be fair, it's probably Joe Burrow probably covering up many of those deficiencies, but still, you just look at that team in that division, it's like, man, yeah, they're a pretty good football team, but that team doesn't make me say, wow, that team's going to be a Super Bowl contention team. And when you give up 3 first-round picks for a quarterback, I don't care who you are, you give up 3 first-round picks for a quarterback, I should expect that quarterback to be taking that team to division titles, playoff appearances, because that's why I gave up those 3 first-round picks for. I didn't give up 3 first-round picks so the Cleveland Browns can go ahead and improve by like 1 or 2 games. Because I think that when you give up 3 first-round picks, you're thinking, okay, this is a Super Bowl caliber team. As good as Deshaun Watson is, I don't think he's a Super Bowl caliber quarterback, at least not in the division that he is in, because he's the 3rd best quarterback in that division. I would take Lamar Jackson over Deshaun Watson. He's a former MVP winner as well, and Lamar can make the most out of a supporting cast. You can't argue about that. Then, of course, there's Joe Burrow. He's already better than Deshaun Watson, in my opinion. And Joe Burrow, hey, you give him a bad offensive line, it don't matter for Joe Burrow. He can take his team to a Super Bowl. Deshaun Watson, he can do a lot of things, but he can't do that. He's not capable of doing that. Joe Burrow has shown us that he has what it takes to win ball games in the 4th quarter and come up clutch. Now, Deshaun Watson, he has shown that as well, but again, he hasn't played football in over a year. So when I look at Deshaun Watson's impact, is he an upgrade over Baker Mayfield? Yes. However, the AFC just got much tougher, and the Cleveland Browns, they're going to need to do even more to overcome those obstacles.
Yeah, and when you look about the franchise itself and look about how type of offseason that we've had, yes, we did give up 3 first-round picks for Baker, or not for Baker, for Deshaun Watson. Is that a bit steep? Yes. say, will it pay off in the long run? That's yet to be determined. But however, our GM, Andrew Berry, he also made a bunch of smart moves over the offseason. Basically gave up a bag of chips in the soda pop for Amari Cooper from the Dallas Cowboys. Stole him, giving Deshaun Watson a wide receiver one to throw to. In the draft, he filled all potential needs, filling defensive tackle, defensive end, and even drafted a wide receiver, getting a great one in David Bell. Round. However, I don't think that the Ravens did as good of a job over the offseason or of the draft. They've been very quiet. They re-signed Calais Campbell. That was a good move, keeping him for the next 2 years. They should have signed Melvin Gordon. I think they should have done that. But they also didn't draft the wide receiver in the draft, and I think that was one of their biggest needs, and they just they didn't go for it. And if you talk just what they put together, I think Andrew Berry, he took a risk with Deshaun Watson, and I think it will pay off, especially right now. Kareem Hunt's contract is ending, so we may not have that dual threat for much longer. So, but as we do have it, if you have Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb, and Kareem Hunt behind with top 5 O-line in the league, there's not much that can't happen there. I think that be confused if because either one's going to be, they're going to beat you in every way possible, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I get where you're coming from as well. Look, I'm not killing the Browns for trading 3 first-round picks for Deshaun Watson. I felt like they had to do that. With Baker Mayfield requesting a trade, not being all in, and even if he was all in, I would have still said go ahead and go do it, because if they had continued to stick with Baker Mayfield, this team would have won 5 or 6 games this upcoming season. I think that by getting Deshaun Watson, now the Cleveland Browns are like, okay, we elevated ourselves by 3 or 4 games this year. Maybe even 5 games if some things go their way and Deshaun Watson ends up being a top 5 quarterback like everybody thinks that he is. So I think that the Cleveland Browns absolutely did the right thing trading for Deshaun Watson. I understand why they had to do it. In fact, I actually would have recommended for them to do it. But just because I recommended for them to do it doesn't necessarily mean they won this trade deal. In the sense that they're going to become Super Bowl contenders, or at least, major factors in the AFC. All right, so let me go ahead and wrap up this question with you about Deshaun Watson's impact on the Browns. How many wins do you think Deshaun Watson is going to get for this Browns team? Will they make the playoffs? And let's talk about his stats.
It's a great question. With the schedule comes out in 2 days for the 2023 season. So I have to look, that plays a big part in how many wins I think he will have. If we have a schedule roughly similar to what we had last season, I do believe Deshaun Watson picks up over 10 wins, 10 or more. I say bar is 10. If he reaches 10, great. If he gets over 10, amazing. I don't see him. Because if an injured Baker could get 7, Deshaun Watson being so much better than he is 10 is the bar right now. I think he can even go above it, but it also depends on the season. Now, if we were going to make the playoffs, being that the AFC is so stacked, right? Of course, I would love for the Browns to make the playoffs. That's something that happened in 2020 that I know we really didn't have much shot going to Super Bowl, but it was great to see him back in the playoff since it's been so long. But I think they will. But I don't see them winning the division. I think because the division's so stacked, I see us getting in maybe a lower tier wild card team, just as I see the Ravens if they're sneak into the wild card.
I see where you come from with the 10 wins. I'm actually going to say that the Cleveland Browns are going to win 9 games. I'm going to predict they're going to win 9 games. I don't necessarily know what the schedule is going to be looking like. Once I take a look at the schedule, dive in a little bit deeper, maybe I could give a clear answer. But if I was to answer based on my gut feeling, 9 wins. And I'm going to assume the Browns' schedule is going to be tougher than it was this past season, just because of the competition in the AFC alone. But I'm just going to go ahead and say that the Browns will win 9 games. They're going to go 9-8. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think you need to win more than 9 games in order to make the playoffs in the stacked AFC. I think that Deshaun Watson, he's going to put up good numbers. He's going to put out pretty great numbers as well. He's going to solidify himself, if he hasn't already, as a top 10 quarterback. But I don't think he's going to do better than top 10. Unfortunately, the way I'm looking at it, Deshaun Watson's impact on the Browns, if you tell people in the Browns organization that Deshaun Watson only does that, I think they're going to be disappointed. I think there's going to be some firings that are going to happen if Deshaun Watson only leads his team to a 9-8 record and they miss the playoffs while he plays good, but not necessarily top of the top. That head coach, Kevin Stefanski, I like this guy a lot, but if he goes 9-8 this year with Deshaun Watson at quarterback, I think he's going to be out in Cleveland. I don't think he's going to be coming back.
We have to look at Kevin Stefanski. He's a 2020 Coach of the Year. He knows what he's doing. He's got a great connection with the team. I love what he's doing there. A couple times last season, I had to question the play calling because he calls his own plays. Doesn't have an offensive coordinator do that. Now I think he just got so much bigger. There's so much more Deshaun Watson can do. If you're adding in a run pass option, if you want to add in read options, if you want to add in any type of Lamar Jackson type offense that they use up in Baltimore, I think he can do that all day. Now, if you look at Baker Mayfield last season, 7 wins and he had only 17 touchdown passes throughout the entire season. That's abysmal. That's
not good.
That's not good at all.
That's not good.
Now, if you take a quarterback and if he puts up anywhere like Joe Burrow numbers, I don't know the exact stats about Joe Burrow. I don't know how many touchdowns.
Got 34 touchdowns. He threw 34.
That's crazy. That's an amazing. He had an amazing. Joe Burrow had an amazing season. He was one of my favorite players to watch last season. If Deshaun 30 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. I don't see him having that many interceptions because he's just so smart when he passes the ball. But if a 30-10 season, I would say is a success just because it gives us, because we couldn't score more than 14 points in a lot of our games last season, and our defense was great, but we could not score on offense. And I think Deshaun Watson gives us that versatility to be able to go put up 24, 30 points a game and try to get and be way more competitive than we will. So a 30-10 season is what I'm looking at. Baker Mayfield did not have good passer ratings last season. He was one of the worst if you looked at pass ratings per game, he was one of the worst in the league. I could see Deshaun Watson being the exact opposite. He makes smart decisions, takes care of the ball, and I think that's going to prove dividends throughout the 2023 season.
I see where you're coming from with Deshaun Watson, but I actually think he's going to put up better numbers than what you're going to give him credit for. I think Deshaun Watson is going to throw like 32 touchdowns, 8 picks. He's going to have a 4-to-1 ratio. His completion percentage is going to be in the high 60s. I think he's going to throw for 4,500 yards. I know that's not going to be top of the league, but it is in Cleveland. That's a lot of yards for the Cleveland Browns in that weather. I think Deshaun Watson is going to have an amazing year statistically, but I think when it comes down to close games, because that's what it's all about in the NFL, and I'm not saying Deshaun Watson doesn't have the clutch gene, but he hasn't played in the NFL for over a year now, okay? Mm-hmm. And I don't think Deshaun Watson, not necessarily because of him, but he will be a reason why the Cleveland Browns will only be able to win 9 games. At the end of the year, we're going to be saying, man, Deshaun Watson, he put up amazing numbers. He looked like he was a major upgrade over Baker Mayfield, yet how did this team only finish 9-8? Well, that's what I think is going to be happening with Deshaun Watson. And if the Cleveland Browns finish 9-8, I think somebody's going to get fired in that organization. Somebody's going to have to pay for that price because the Cleveland Browns ownership is going to be like, okay, we gave up 3 first-round picks for what exactly? So we could get a little bit better at the quarterback position? I mean, that's how I'm seeing it. That's what I think is going to happen. Mm-hmm. Do I think that should happen? No, but it is the Cleveland Browns ownership. So what do you expect from them? So that's how I'm looking at it. So that's just kind of my viewpoint. If you want to disagree with me, sound me off.
I only have a couple things to respond to that for. I think a win now mentality is a 2-year mentality. So Deshaun Watson has this year and he has next year to prove that this was not a mistake for the Cleveland Browns. If they don't put up in 10 wins or more in the next 2 years, I'm with you 100%. There's going to be some internal firings to change. However, Baker Mayfield last season was the reason we lost games in the fourth quarter. I think Deshaun Watson this season will be the reason we win games in the fourth quarter. If you look at his time at Houston, he had so many fourth quarter comebacks. His fourth quarter, the end of the second quarter towards halftime and the end of the fourth quarter was when he put up most of his yards in the game. Are straggling. They don't know what they're rushing everywhere, and that's what Deshaun Watson picks on. He picks on defenses when they're weak, and that's just something that Baker Mayfield could not do. So I think sometimes Baker Mayfield took losses when they should have been wins, and I think Deshaun Watson will do the opposite. He'll take out wins that should have been losses.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, but I just don't think that the degree of difficulty would be. I think you're kind of banking on, and I know you're a Browns fan, so I know you want this. I think you're banking on Mayfield's level of difficulty and Deshaun Watson's level of difficulty being the same. I don't look at it that way. I think Deshaun's level of difficulty is going to be much higher than Baker Mayfield's level of difficulty. I do think this was a move that the Browns did have to make. I thought they had to upgrade massively at the quarterback position. But look, when you give up 3 first-round picks, I don't care who it is. Like anytime you give up multiple first-round picks along with other draft picks as well, especially for a guy that does bring controversy to the team, no matter what you think about the situation, fans and ownership, they're going to want immediate results. I don't think the Browns organization, they're going to be patient and say, okay, we can wait it out a couple of years till the AFC maybe weakens up. They're going to be like, okay, we need results now. And 9-8, that's where I see Deshaun Watson going. I think we're just going to agree to disagree with it in terms of the outlook. But the way I see it, I think Cleveland Browns, they're only going to improve to a 9-8 record. No playoffs for them.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I see there. Obviously, I'm going to have different opinions on that, being that I'm a Browns fan. Wild card, if at the very least. But I just see give Deshaun Watson immediate results is obviously something you're going to have to look for with giving up 3 first-round picks. That no matter if it's a running back, quarterback, no matter who you're giving up. If you don't see if you trade for a safety with 3 first-round picks, similar to how Seattle. Man, if he doesn't put up numbers immediately, you feel automatically you've lost a trade. Not only did you lose a trade, but you lose confidence. And I think if Deshaun Watson misses the playoffs in this next season and even the season after that, then confidence is going to be lost in Andrew Berry. Confidence is going to be lost in Kevin Stefanski, because there's anyone's mind that Deshaun Watson is a generational talent. He's an amazing football player. So if he doesn't produce, I don't know if they're going to so much blame Deshaun Watson, or they're going to blame it on coaching, or they're going to blame it on the GM Andrew Berry for not putting pieces around him. But something is going to happen internally, and it's going to cause chaos if he does not makes the playoffs, does not get over 10 wins in the next 2 years.
Mm-hmm. So you think this is going to be more of a 2-year plan? I'm thinking this is going to be a 1-year plan for them. If it doesn't work, I think they're going to can the coach. I think it's either going to be the GM or the coach. I don't think Deshaun Watson is going to be the one that's going to pay the price, nor should he. I don't think anybody should have to. But if it's going to be one of those two, I think it's going to be the head coach, because at the end of the day, who's closer to the owner, the GM or the coach? The GM is, and the owner's going to be like, okay, we're going to can the guy that's not as close to him. So that's how I'm going to look at it. So that's how I'm viewing it. Well, thanks for being on the show, man. Really appreciated it.
Of course, man. Happy to be on.
Yeah, and oh, by the way, make sure you go follow his Instagram at George_Rennie34. All right, so he has an Instagram account, so make sure you go ahead and follow him on that.
Thank you, Dustin.
Yep. Great to talk to you with the Deshaun Watson topic. See ya, bro.
See ya, man.
Yep. Bye. That was George Rennie that you guys just heard. All right, so as he already established, he's a Cleveland Browns fan, and he's hoping for the best out of Deshaun Watson. I'm also hoping out for the best out of Deshaun Watson as well, although I'm not quite as confident as he is in terms of Deshaun Watson leading the Cleveland Browns to team success. We both think that Deshaun Watson is going to put up individual numbers that are going to be leaving us amazed, as well as amazing highlight reels. But at the end of the day, George Rennie's got the Cleveland Browns winning 10 games with Deshaun Watson getting a wild card berth, while I got the Browns going 9-8 and missing out on the NFL playoffs with Deshaun Watson at quarterback, which will then result in a firing of either the general manager or the head coach. So that's just kind of how I'm looking at it. Is my take bold? Yeah, probably. But you know what? I don't really care what you guys think in terms of that kind of sense. I mean, certainly I want you guys to care about my opinions, but at the end of the day, my take is my take, so that's kind of how I'm looking at it. I just don't think that Deshaun Watson can elevate this Browns team as much as what other people are thinking. So that is why Deshaun Watson's impact for the Browns will not be as great as what people are expecting out of him. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in a future video. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at Dustin S. Tran and at Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter at Dustin S. Tran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to Sports Guy Talking to get the latest from the show. Tran Talks. Go ahead and like the video. Comment down below. Check the description box on the video in order to follow my socials. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from Tran Talks on the YouTube channel Sports Guy Talking.